Hello you guys, welcome. We are back in Rio, last day in Rio. I really love this place. I didn't think I was going to, but I have to say, man, Brazil is just hitting it out of the ballpark. That's an actual saying, right? Sports. Don't know anything about sports. Speaking of which, today is a Brazil game for football, so everything is closed. Yeah. It's kind of weird to me that it's okay to close the entirety of a country because of a football game, but never having been somebody who is nationalistic at all and never been into sports, I guess that's just something I don't understand. So today I kind of wanted to give all of you guys a reprieve. I think my last couple of videos have been very emotionally charged, to the point where I think I made a lot of people probably a little bit uncomfortable because I've been very vocal and frustrated in my opinions. And you guys, for those of you guys who are still here and still watching, there's some things that I want you guys to kind of understand in terms of where I just have a lot of very mixed feelings about where we are as a society. And I think one of them to me is I think as a system, I think a lot of people, especially people who watch my videos at this point still, they are very cognizant of the fact that as a society in a whole, people have become ultra sensitive, to everything. Everything is triggering, everything is hurtful, everything is a microaggression. And I think some of that has already started with this fear or this discomfort that people have when people are very direct and honest. I'm a very direct and honest person. To the point where I think for a lot of people it comes across as being very rude, especially Americans, who I think as a culture don't appreciate directness. I think Northern European Germans specifically are not as sensitive about that just yet. I think that's part of our culture to be more direct. We actually kind of think of directness as polite. But I know that for a lot of people, directness is becoming more and more something that makes them feel uncomfortable. So I think especially on my channel, when I say certain things very bluntly and very directly, I think a lot of people internally just go, And I understand that. I understand that because I do live in this world, and I do travel, and I do see, and I experience cultures and people, and I see how uncomfortable a lot of people are by directness and bluntness. But here's what I'm saying. I kind of have mixed feelings on this. I think I sometimes wonder if this societal push, cultural push over the last decades, because people have definitely historically were much more direct than they are now, especially in Europe, where also people are becoming less and less comfortable with being opinionated and direct. I sometimes wonder if this push to make people feel uncomfortable with saying exactly how they think and feel wasn't or isn't the first step that has kind of led us to where we are as a society, right? Because what better way to push an agenda than to first take away people's voices? The first thing we do is we basically as a society say that it is inappropriate or offensive for you to actually say how you think and how you feel. Like, oh my God, how could you say something like that out loud? Like, oh my God, that's so rude. That's so inconsiderate. Like, you know, there's that really famous saying in English, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I completely disagree with that saying. I mean, how are we as a people supposed to grow and change if we don't point out things that are wrong and bad or hurt, you know, whatever, you know? I like, even as I was telling you guys, when I traveled with my friend Enrica, like, she's lived in the US much longer than I've, and I think in a lot of ways she has very much Americanized to this idea of like, oh, don't say anything negative, don't say anything negative. And I'm like, okay, but if I'm at a restaurant and the food is legitimately bad, I can then actually, and they say, how was it? I can actually tell them the truth and be like, it wasn't good. And yet in the moment it might sting and it might be slightly uncomfortable, but then they are aware of it and they can change it. And in the long run, probably it'll be better for the restaurant because now the restaurant is changing it, making the food better, and more customers will come, versus being like, oh, it was great, it was great. Then probably, as we see nowadays, everybody is an online warrior. Then go online anonymously and be like, that food was terrible, it was gross, blah, blah, blah. And then the business goes under. You know, I'm like, so what is actually more of an act of kindness here? So I feel like maybe this was one of the first steps in making the world the way it is now. The first thing they did is they took away our voice. And I will not have my voice taken away. I won't. I think, I've said this many times on my channel, I've said it in real life too, I care more about being true to who I am and to what I believe and how I think I should be treated and how I want people to view my integrity and my truth than I necessarily care about my likability. That's just me personally. And I won't have my voice taken away because other people are like, oh, that's a little too blunt, or I feel uncomfortable with it. Because I really do think that's, once somebody takes your voice, you know, so, you know, and I think especially today I was kind of thinking about this while I was walking around, you know, because a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, but there seems to be so much frustration and anger to you. And I'm like, I agree. There is a lot of frustration and anger to me when it comes to a lot of things that are coming from the left. And I do criticize the left more. I've openly admitted that. And I've openly already told everybody who follows my channel, I do that because I am by default associated with the left. Most gay people are left. I am by default part of the gay community, right? So most women are left. Most of my close friends are women, you know, and also having myself identified as part of the left for the vast majority of my adult life. I do harbor anger and frustration to the left because the best way I can explain it to you guys is that imagine you're in a relationship with somebody, man, woman, whatever. And this person, while you are dating, is continuously manipulating you, continuously lying to you, continuously cheating on you, telling you things that are just factually not true, trying to make you think that they are supportive of you, that they care about you. And then one day, all of a sudden, the curtains are drawn and you cannot no longer pretend to not see the truth. And that is that this person is not actually good for you, or is actually not supporting you the way that they say. And the sense of betrayal, for anybody who's ever been in that situation, in a relationship, the sense of betrayal that you feel it gives you you have a visceral response to that, right? You have a visceral feeling. You have anger and frustration and hurt and sadness that this person that you've cared about, bad hair day, did this to you, right? And to me, that is literally how I feel about the left. I feel so cheated and manipulated by the left. And it does feel to me like a breakup that I'm trying to process. And I do have a lot of anger and frustration about it, about this group that told me, I love you and I support you and I'm there for you and, you know, you really matter to me. And then to find out that so much of what they were saying is completely false. It's, yeah, I admit, like, I know how I can imagine how uncomfortable for a lot of you guys it feels that I'm so visceral and so frustrated about a lot of the topics I talk about. But it really does feel to me like this betrayal of my younger self, my naive younger self, who I think, like most people who are on the left, and I truly believe this, I do think most people on the left do think that they are the kinder and the nicer people, because a lot of the left policies just do seem more kind, right? It's like, oh, we have to help these people, we have to help all the minorities, and oh my gosh, and everybody is so oppressed, and let's just give them money, let's give them reparations, let's just free stuff everywhere left and right because we're so good and we care about people, right? And I think it just really sucks in a lot of people where they're kind of like, yeah, I want to be a good person, you know, I feel bad because I'm white and white people did bad things in the past, and I carry this guilt for being straight and like how horrible straight people, and I feel all this guilt and anguish for my past, so I'm gonna be a Democrat, I'm gonna be left, and then I feel better about myself, and like I can so understand that because that's so much what sucked me into the left as well. And it's a really nice selling point for the left, right? But the fact is that it's all just smoke and mirrors. It's all smoke and mirrors. It sounds nice when you first hear it, but then it turns out that these policies that the left are creating, they're actually in the long term hurting all of these groups that they say they care about, right? The welfare state does not help the Black community. It is perpetuating them staying in this place of poverty, of low education, right? Same thing with just feeding minorities into this idea of victimhood. This is literally mental poisoning. It is, to me, it feels like mental poisoning to tell people that they cannot, that you cannot succeed because you're Black or you're gay or you're a woman. I'm now at a point in my life where I legitimately feel like that's evil. It is fundamentally evil to tell people from a young age, you can't achieve anything. You can't. You're too dumb. You're too ugly, you're too this, you know, if you're Black, you can't do anything because Black people can't do anything. And if you're gay, you can't do anything because, you know, gay people can't achieve anything. And women, and all of you, put all your faith in us, put all your faith in the government, and we'll give you free stuff, we'll make you completely dependent on us, and that's the way, that's the best way to do, because you yourself are completely incapable of anything. I actually find that, I actually do. I legitimately find that evil. That is so evil because it's not true. You can absolutely succeed, but it takes work. It does. It takes work. It takes sacrifice. It maybe it'll even take generations. Maybe you will, maybe your parents weren't even able to finish high school, and you'll be able to finish high school. And then your son or daughter is going to be the first one to be able to go to college. And then their kids are then the first ones who are going to get a medical degree. And, yeah, it might take some generations, but think about how much more significant and how much more pride you can take out of something that you've earned and worked for yourself, right? So I think this is something, yeah, I carry a lot of hurt and frustration for the fact that I was so bamboozled by the left into thinking they care about us, which they don't. And I think for me, a very big awakening for anybody who follows my channel, I think, was the trans issue. That and COVID, both of those just completely threw me out of the left. And when I think about how much the left is backstabbing both women and gay people when it comes to the trans issue, yes, I don't know how else to say it, you guys. Like, I legitimately feel betrayed by these people who are like, this is a loving community and we accept you, and turn to us for safety and security and a safe space and acceptance. And now we're in 2022 and they're telling women, you have to be okay with a biological male being in a women's prison and raping women because their feelings are more important than yours. You have to be okay as a gay man to sleep with a biological woman because she says she identifies as a man, and if you don't, you're a bigot. And I'm like, wait, weren't you the party that told me it's okay for me to feel as I do, for me to be attracted to men and male genitalia? Not 15 years ago? Now you're coming and telling me I'm a bigot if I don't sleep with somebody who has female genitalia? And the left, I don't want to say all Democrats, but like the left, the really hardcore left people, they have put so much fear into this loving, amazing, great community called the left, where we're constantly being told we have to become more and more extreme in our progressive thinking to stay part of this loving community, this great loving community, this community that loves you so much. But don't you dare question anything. Don't you dare go, wait, I'm gay, I don't want to have sex with somebody who has a vagina. Don't you dare do this. You cannot question anything, or we're gonna have to kick you out. We're gonna have to kick you out of this great, amazing, loving community that is there for you, that is absolutely there for you, and they support you. But don't you dare question anything. But don't you dare go against any of what we say is the correct path and what we say you need to be doing. Because if you do, we're gonna have to call you a bigot, or a racist, or a sexist, and you're never gonna live that stigma down. So think about it. Think about it. Do you want to stay with us? Do you want to stay with us, this great, loving community where everybody has to think the same? And you have to go along with everything we tell you you have to go along with, even if it goes against all the principles that just 15 years ago we were telling you we support? Or do you want to be a bigot and a sexist and be kicked out and shunned and canceled and kicked off of all the social media and be doxxed and have people come by your house and protest you, get your bank accounts frozen? It's your choice. It's completely your choice. No pressure. Be a good person. Be gay. but sleep with a woman. You know, be a feminist, but have to support a locker room where men are there groping and looking on you and have penises, you know, or you can leave and we'll ruin your life. Well, I mean, because you're a terrible bigoted person because, you know, you don't do what we say you should do. Yes, I'm angry. Yes, I'm hurt. Yes, I'm frustrated. Yes, it comes out in my videos. Because it's become so ludicrous. It's become so ludicrous. And it's so, like I said, the betrayal that I feel, I don't know any other way to process the betrayal that I feel from the left. The amount of lies that they told us. The amount of lies that they told us. It's just, I just, you know, and the thing is, I have to deal with the fact that not only was I betrayed by my community, once again, because I've never really felt like I was part of the gay community anyway, because even back when I probably would have still been allowed to call myself part of the left, even then I just already was kind of like, I hated the fact that the left was really pushing gay people, and gay men specifically, into this idea of promiscuity and sleeping around and, you know, you're liberated. You don't need a relationship. Just sleep around. It's so liberated to sleep around, you know, and that was something I've never really jived with. Because I just truly don't believe that this is a long-term way to gain equality or happiness. But even like just the betrayal even put aside, another part where I think so much of my frustration comes from is I feel so much like I'm standing alone. And because I have been, and I am, a very lone voice. I'm not saying there aren't other people out there, you know, we've got like people like Candace Owens now who's coming out and, you know, really shocking people because she's a black woman and she's going against all, you know, but there's just so few people who are willing to speak up publicly against this absolute ridiculousness that is coming from the left, and frankly I think ruining society. And having to imagine being in a room and seeing somebody doing something bad, I don't know, whatever, throwing garbage on the floor. We live in a society, like I said, they have taken our voice. They have completely taken our voice. Nobody wants to rock the boat. Nobody wants to be confrontational. Nobody wants to say anything, even when they know it's wrong. And you're in a group, and you're in a room of 50 people, and no one's willing to say, hey, don't throw your garbage on the ground. Because, oh, we don't want to ruffle feathers, we don't want to make it uncomfortable, so we're all just going to stand there and be like, ah, just laugh, whatever, and let them get away with it. But then, you know, next thing, 2 people are throwing garbage on the ground, and then 3 people throwing garbage on the ground, and 4 people are throwing, and then we get to the point where the whole floor is covered with garbage, and everyone's like, how did we get here? We got here because most people aren't willing to use their voice, because it's just too uncomfortable. It's just like, I don't want to deal with the discomfort. I don't want to be disliked. I don't want to take the chance of losing a coworker or a friend or something like that. So here is me saying, you know what? If nobody else is willing to say it, I'll say it. And then what happens, and this is exactly what happened when I initially separated myself from the left, the people who actually agreed with me, which I honestly have to believe to be able to still live in this society and not go completely mental, I have to believe that most people actually truly agree with me on a lot of this nonsense, but they're just not willing to say anything. But I truly believe most people know, whoa, this stuff doesn't make sense, or this is bad, or this is not the way our society should be developing. I truly have to believe that, because otherwise I probably would just slit my wrists right now. But so I'm the one in the room who's willing to say, don't throw your garbage on the ground. It's wrong and it's inconsiderate to everybody else. And then I'm not going to get any support, because most people, even though they agree with me, they don't want to speak up. And on top of that, the people who disagree with me then come after me. And if I think about how vicious those people who still really want to belong to the left and still want to be able to call themselves leftists, how vicious these people were when I was like, I can't agree with this. I can go so far and no further. The amount of just completely vicious rhetoric telling me I'm going to go to hell and I should just go and kill myself, and that I'm horrible, I'm ugly, and I'm stupid, and I don't know anything about life, and I have no heart, I have no empathy. You know who I'm talking about. I'm just kind of like, how can you claim to be a part of this loving, amazing society and then say those kind of things just because somebody doesn't agree with you? You know, and I think that is yet another aspect that has added so much to my anger and my frustration as to why I get so caught up in my opinions, especially on my channel. In real life, I think I'm a little bit more mellow, quite a bit more mellow, actually. But it's like, on the one hand, I have to deal with the betrayal I feel and the anger I feel because of the betrayal. On the other hand, I also have to speak for the entirety, which also frustrates me, because I'm kind of like, you know what, if everybody on the first day when somebody threw garbage on the ground, if everybody would have stood up and been like, that's not correct, we wouldn't be where we are in society when it comes to a lot of issues. A lot of issues. We wouldn't be there. And everybody would have taken their share of the burden and taken their share of being a little bit uncomfortable. And not one person would have had to have dealt with the entirety of the backlash of it. And this is something where, yeah, this is another thing that causes me a lot of frustration, because I've decided I'm willing to do it because I think we are at a point in society now where we are literally going down a path of craziness. Like I said, like men going into women's prisons and raping them, and we are at a point where we just don't have the luxury for people to just sit on the sidelines anymore. We don't have that luxury, and the fact that still so many people are too worried about their reputation or potentially getting canceled, yes, it creates even more anger and frustration in me, because I'm like, why do I have to be the sole voice of reason and take on all of the visceral and mean-spirited attacks so that other people can stay in their comfort zone and silently agree? You know, like, just like, I agree with you, but I'm not gonna, you know, I can't publicly say it. Yeah, you're right. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, and like, let's just leave it at that. Yeah. Okay. Bye.